been asked a couple times about this jade recipe, so here we go. Starting with a model base coated with a zenith spray. Helps just kind of see everything on it. And this is the test model I did. I keep them nearby just to help remind me what I'm aiming for when I'm going. I'm using roughly a 1:4 mix of black and jade with an airbrush just to base coat all the armour. You can use a brush, I just use the airbrush to save time because I usually base coat entire units. Nice dark green across the whole thing, and then we are going to absolutely blast him with a jade green dry brush. Just cover the whole thing like 90% jade green. Then second step really is a tiny bit of yellow in, maybe 1:4, and give them a light dry brush with that. Just kind of a bit of variation in the green. Then the most time consuming step by far, you want to edge highlight all of the armour with about a 50-50 mix of moon yellow and jade green. So edges of all the plates and all the little scales. I find using the edge of the brush just like this, or to like dab the tips of the scales helps a lot. But yeah, you'll be at this for a while. This is a long process. Well worth it though. And here's all the armor done. That's basically it for the jade. Then for black, I'm going over the boots, the hair plume thingy-majigger, the cloth belt thing he has, the scabbard, most of them non-armor stuff really. With the brightness of the green and the gold we're going to use, the black just kind of helps tone down the model, gives a nice contrast. Then highlighting. We are going to be highlighting black with a mix of white and black for a grey, edge highlighting again, mixing a little more white in as we go, just for the very tips and the top of the hair plume thingy. And that's it for the black. Don't need to do anything too fancy. My favourite step is the gold, so all of the trim is going to be gold. And this you kind of have to be careful for because it's a bit awkward if you are messy. Not unfixable, but you'll spend a lot of time trying to fix mistakes if you make them here. So be patient, just slow and steady. All the trim around the armour, the shield, the boots. Bam. It looks so much better with the trim done. Now, sepia ink. You can use Seraphim Sepia Shade as well from Citadel. They both work fine. I'm just using a sepia ink from Vallejo with watered down a bit. Shade in all of the gold. If it's too thick, just wipe some off and wick it up and push it around a bit until you're happy. But you want to go over all of the gold with this. Try not to miss any because you'll kind of see a big difference between it when it's done. When it comes to gold, sepia over it, whether it's in ink or Seraphim Sepia, is just kind of the best. I haven't found any other way of doing gold better. This does take a long time to dry though, so we're going to just hop on to doing the brown. Not a lot here, just the spear shaft, his stirrups, and a little bit of the belt. Because the sepia shade or ink takes forever to dry, so you want to leave that for maybe half an hour, give or take, before you move on. Then we're going to go with a gold mixed with silver. I'm using a Vallejo silver, but any silver will do. And we're doing edge highlighting again, because why not? Yeah, so we're going to edge highlight all the gold. And this is going to make them real poppy. You don't have to be like meticulous about this, it's fine if you miss a bit, but it really does make the gold much better. This is going to be a little bit fancy. We're going to be wet blending the spear tip black and white for a bit of a gradient. You can be messy here, it doesn't need to be perfect by any means. You can also pick out the gems with white while you're at it here. Because our next step is going to be with Carandra's green and black, and once again we're going to be wet blending. So we're just going to blend the contrast and the black together into a gradient, and that's going to give us kind of a funky, almost stone-like jade black look to it. If you're not happy with it the first time you do this wet blend, just let it dry and go over it again. Then for the tip and edge, I'm going to mix a little bit of the moon yellow in and kind of glaze just the tips of the spear and the edges, just to brighten it up a little bit. And there you go. That's simple enough to do. Before I forget, I'm just going to go back over the brown with a little bit of white mixed in to give it some highlights. There's very little brown on this guy in particular, so the shield I'm using a black ink and capillary action, which sounds fancy, but basically I'm just putting ink into the cracks here to make them black. You can use a shade paint as well. Inks are just more pigmented, so it's easier. That's what it looks like. This guy does not have a lot of skin, especially around the face, so I'm just going to really quickly breeze through that because I'm going to put up a video doing the face on another model. You should definitely learn how to do eyes, because once you do learn how to do eyes, it takes a bit of practice, but it's well worth it. I'll upload a video on how I do faces, but yeah, this guy doesn't have much of a face. And that's it. Not a lot of colours here. We have a finished Jade Lancer. He looks great. It's a pretty simple scheme that works well across the whole range. I'll bring out the test model again. Yep, looks, he matches. Ideal. We can scale it up as well. So I have a Longma here who uses literally the exact same colour palette. The only difference in what I do is this here, I used an airbrush for the gradient instead of just a brush, but otherwise the same paints. And yeah, I use the exact same palette for everything, with some exceptions like the fish on this guy and some other little doodads around the models. So this is what I've got so far for Cathay. For specific techniques, Miniax, Squidmar or the Warhammer YouTube are all great resources, but hopefully this Jade works for you though.